Packers fans. Just 2 weeks until the 2026 NFL draft, so I thought we'd come at you with a little mock draft frenzy. 4 mocks, 4 different simulators. Let's not waste any time. Off we go. And to start with the pick 52, we're going to make a pick that maybe isn't as popular, not a popular position to select at 52. With edge rusher here, we're going to take Malachi Lawrence from Central Florida, a player who I think has a deep bag of pass rush moves, is going to be effective in that regard early on, even coming in on the rotation. I think he flashes as an edge setter against the run, where he plays with good pad level. He can shed. He's got the length to do so. It's just about refining that consistency there. But I do think you're getting a really, really talented player in Lawrence at 52. I know a lot of people are going to be upset that that wasn't corner with the options on the board, but I just think that's going to be a little more impactful. Now at 84, lots of fun options. I know a lot of people like Logan Jones. I know they shine Sean Ryan, so center maybe not as pressing, but I do think it's still something that they should be looking at later in the draft. Ted Hurst would be very fun at receiver, but I'm going to go Dalen Everett here, who I think just the measurables match really nicely with what they're looking for. Still a younger player, plenty of room to grow, and I do think they're going to address corner at some point, maybe multiple times in this draft class if they get good opportunities. At pick 120, I think it's pretty simple. I think they got to go trenches here again. I think it's offensive line, it's defensive line. Cage Casey's a really nice option. Chris McClellan's interesting at defensive tackle here, but we're going to go with a classic. Trey Zune. He's got center experience. He's got left tackle experience. Doesn't mean he's going to stick at either of those spots, but we know Green Bay wants, true tackles across the board when they're looking for prospects. So we're going to take Trey Zune here at pick 120. Looking good so far. I think 3 positions that really needed to be addressed anyway. Now, when you look at pick 160, I think linebacker can come into play. Caleb Ellarms. Or here is somebody I really like. Julian Neal could be an option for them as well, even though, again, the 3-cone's not very good. I still think you could look at somebody like Albert Regis here as just a true run defender. That, again, if that's what they really want, if Green Bay wants the run defenders, they can find them, I think, later in the draft. So, yeah, I think it's becoming between Regis and Julian Neal here, where let's go Neal. Let's see how that works. I know the 3-cone is maybe a little bit concerning, but I think he plays extremely physical. He can match with speed pretty nicely. So I think across the board there, you're getting a pretty solid player. And again, day 3, you can kind of relax perhaps those thresholds a little bit more. 201, I'm looking at tight end. I'm looking at receiver. I don't think Oscar Delp is going to be available at this spot, but I think it would be a no-brainer if so. Matt Gulbin's a really talented center. You could reinforce that a little bit as well. I do think Red Murdoch at linebacker is somebody that they should be looking at too. So, with all of that being said, and with what there isn't really at defensive tackle at the moment, I think we're going to make a move that, to me, makes plenty of sense for this team and where they're at and what they need. So we are going to take a tight end. We're going to take Daquan Wright, who I think, pretty good transition player in the route breaks. All of that I think is really good. I think he just has to improve as an inline player. I think it's a hand usage thing, it's a pad level thing, but I think the talent is most certainly there. Maybe not going to be a popular one, but I do think that is something that they could address. We're going to go Jordan Vandenberg with one of these 2 7th-round picks here. Again, just find a guy who can defend the run, right? And I think that's kind of what this class is going to end up being, right? I think across the board, that's kind of what you're going to get. Vandenberg, he's kind of around what Green Bay likes. He's a little bit older prospect, but I do think that is going to be a potential option for them. And I think to round this out, if he's still available, we are going to go get a tackle in Alan Heron, who's really good in pass protection. That's kind of what Green Bay looks for. He's got the right tackle experience. That's, again, something they can move around. They can move Zach Tom if they really, really want to. And I think it gives you that option. And again, that's kind of what I want this mock to be, is you get 2 offensive linemen, which I think is extremely important. I think you beef up the trenches with both sides. I think that has to be a main focus for this team, no matter what, no matter if everybody's coming back healthy or not. And I think you get the 2 cornerback picks there in Everett and Neal that look really, really good. All right, guys, second mock draft here for you using the Pro Football Network mock draft simulator. Hopefully going to do a different scenario with this one. We'll see about the trades when they happen. But I do think it's going to be an interesting group of players available here at 52. Carolina offering a next year's second is very tempting, but doesn't seem super realistic. Lee Hunter available, a classic one. Keith Abney, a little bit outside the thresholds for Green Bay. Would love to do that. Obviously, Lawrence still here. Gabe Akis is somebody that I think would be interesting if Green Bay were to go edge. But let's do this here with him available and take Florida defensive tackle Caleb Banks, who, in that 6'6", 327, 330 range in terms of the size. Like, maybe that's a pad level thing, maybe a leverage thing, but the way he moves at that size is really, really intriguing. That when the flashes were there when he's been healthy. So, the health is obviously, probably the bigger concern of anything else, but really, really intrigued in that regard. R. Mason Thomas still here makes this interesting. I know a lot of Packers fans are going to want to go the Bryce Lance route, another wide receiver out of North Dakota State. We're going to keep it chalky here with Davison Igbinosun. Again, 6'2", 189 at the combine, so a little bit lighter in terms of the weight when you're talking about Packers thresholds, but the competitive nature and the play demeanor for a guy like that who's willing to stick his nose in the run, play physical in coverage. Yes, the penalties are a big deal, and they need to be cleaned up. They did get cleaned up in a big, big way from 2024 to 2025. Should make you, a little less concerned about, what his career could look like in the league. Caleb Proctor here at 120 might be too good to pass up, honestly. When you look at the edge rushers, Jason Barham, really interesting. I'm going to go, unless there's somebody really on the offensive line that, to me, screams Packer. I think we're going to go Kieran Crawford here. An edge rusher who I think could fit really nicely into the rotation. So, I think just edge becomes a bigger priority just because of what they've lost and I think what they still need. So, yeah, that's something we're gonna keep an eye on. No question about that. Corner, not again there. Again, I think just the fact that Trey Zoom continues to be here in terms of day 3, no matter if it's the 4th or 5th round, again, the tackle, center flexibility, but also, again, tackle center flexibility. Green Bay's gone that direction before. Obviously, the 2 positions they like drafting, they don't really like drafting true guards. Maybe Zoom takes one of the guard spots. He competes there. He competes for left tackle. In some regard, he's going to compete, and I think the offensive line still needs something. And I think that's very important for them. Now, I do think they're going to take a QB at some point, and it might not be at this spot. It might be a little later down the line. I do think tight end is something that needs to be addressed. I think he does better. I think that there are guys that you could look at, but I'm going to go Marlon Klein here from Michigan. Well, I just think, again, when I look at the tight ends, and I think Endries from Texas, who I did click on, is somebody who at times I think can show that he can show the ability to hang with some guys, that aren't just going to be ancillary pieces in the run fit, like the corners, the safeties, the backers. But again, the size, I think that's going to matter for him. And so getting somebody like Klein, who's a little bit bigger, to me, I think makes plenty of sense there. Now, I think corner or, another offensive lineman, something that both would make sense here. I think if we continue to look down the board, I think we're going to be, pretty pleased about what you see, right? For sure. In terms of that. But quarterback, I think something that they're going to address. And I know they've met with Baron Morton, but we're going to go Ethan Kaliakmanis here, who had a pretty good season with Rutgers. And then we're going to finish it up with, I think, either corner or offensive line, excuse me. I think we're going to go with, tricky. We could go with somebody they've just met if PFF or PFN has him on the board here. I'm not sure they do or not. I'm looking through, though. Not seeing it. Let's go with Avery Smith from Toledo. I think plays pretty physical. And so I think you just add those guys who play physical, who have the play demeanor that really want to be involved in the secondary. And so this is what you get. You get Banks, Igbinosun, Crawford, Zune, Klein, Kaliakmanis, and Avery Smith. On to the next. All right, guys, switching over to A to Z Sports for their mock draft. So we're going to roll through this one. We'll see if some trades appear in this one that are a little more interesting to potentially move back. Because, again, I think there's going to be options for Green Bay at 52 where you don't feel like you have to make a selection here. But I think that's, yeah, we got 5 trade offers because we've got some really, really talented players on the board. So we're going to take Christian Miller. Green Bay's met with this guy. I think he is somebody who quicks, size, strength, all of that stuff. I know there's a little blurb here as well, but you look at, I think the recognition skills are really, really good with him too, in terms of seeing what's coming, in terms of the run scheme, in terms of motion, play action, all of that stuff. I think he is really, really well versed in all of that. And again, just the Georgia to Green Bay pipeline continues to grow in this scenario. Now, we could kind of throw this for a loop a little bit here and take somebody who, again, Green Bay doesn't often select. We've kind of done the Everett thing. I don't want to keep rehashing it, but it would be interesting to see what happens if Green Bay went a direction that they don't often go when it comes to sort of the way that they evaluate and the way they want to select offensive line. Like if they went a Keelan Rutledge here, I think that would be interesting. So I think we're going to do that. Unless, actually, no, we're gonna stray from Rutledge. I'm gonna call an audible, and we're gonna take Cage Casey here at 84, who I think is somebody who I think ideally, when I've been doing a lot of these, you like to get him at pick 120. However, the tackle to guard conversion is there, and I think that's something where Green Bay is going to look at that. They're going to look at how good he is as a pass blocker, and they're going to say, yeah, let's just do that. So we're going to keep this a little more Green Bay coded, more than I thought I was going to. Maybe the fourth one will kind of go rogue a little bit more. Man. I mean, when we talk about Green Bay fits, about the thresholds and all of that, we'll go to Tacario Davis here. I think that's something that would want to do, right? Bigger guy, but he is a little more fluid, I think, on film than some of the other really good testers at the cornerback position. So let's go to Tacario Davis. I don't love it, but I think it's tolerable at that selection. So that one works for me. I think tight end's going to be something that they're, again, just going to keep looking at. I really, really do. And it just comes down to, I think it's going to be Eli Raridan here. Again, a kind of fluid seam stretching type who I think does some really, really good stuff in terms of blocking. So we're going to go with him there. I do think, again, that if we can get this guy at pick 200, which we can, we're going to go double up at corner here, which I think is the right way to go. Going to keep it sensible. We're going to go Devin Marshall. Really, really like what I've seen from him. And I think he fits nicely. And again, he's not the bigger corner. So like the transition stuff, it's not as clunky. It looks, it looks more feasible for a player like him. Okay. And if we need linebacker, I think, Jaden Duggar, can't really see him on screen, but he is still available here. Red Murdoch, something we've definitely talked about. We haven't gone edge, but I don't know if there's anything like I really, really want here. Let's let's go with, I think, Jimmy Rolder here from Michigan. We're going to take yet another Michigan player in this third mock draft. Obviously taking Klein in the last one. But again, I just think that it's probably something that they need to address. I know they got Zaire Franklin in there, but I just don't think they can totally call that good, especially just having not seen much from somebody like Tyron Hopper at this juncture. QB, who's available late at quarterback? Again, I think they're going to be thinking about this heavily. But let's go down the wide receiver board and see if we like anything. Chase Roberts, Jordan Hudson, Vinny Anthony, some possibilities there. We could look at running back as well. Green Bay's done a lot of homework with these running backs. Is there anything that jumps out here? For me, there is. I like Terrian Stewart quite a bit. You can kind of barely see him on the screen. But I do think some of the bursts, some of the missed tackles for us. I know he's a little bit shorter, right? He's kind of got the short, stockier, like Maurice Jones-Drew build. But again, a guy who can churn this out in gap scheme stuff, I think is valuable enough. So we're gonna go running back there. And I think that's this is what we got. Christian Miller, Cage Casey, Takario Davis, Eli Raridan, Devin Marshall, Jimmy Rolder, and Terrion Stewart. So there you go. All right, and last but not least here, we're going to go through the NFL Mock Draft Database Simulator. And this one might be the chaos one. It might be something where we get a lot of value. We'll see. We'll see how this goes. Haven't used this one in quite some time, but excited to finish it out here. Again, this is where you get the crazy trade offers with like the entire draft. So with this one at 52, again, so many really, really good options for Green Bay. Pons, we could really go, do not care about the size threshold stuff. We could just take Malachi Lawrence, who's been just a favorite. But let's go crazy. Let's take Pons here and start this thing off that way, because I think I have a really fun thing to do at 84 as well. 84, going to bypass Orange and Halton and Darrell Jackson Jr. for Caleb Proctor. Upfield burst. We're chasing it. The ability to cross face, that disruption skill set, and the change of direction, all of that. We're chasing it there. Have no problem with it. I know people will definitely have a problem with it, but that is what it is. Again, Trey Zoom keeps popping up, people. I think that he just feels like one of those really, really obvious ones that we look back and we say, oh, yeah, of course. And again, it's easier when you've picked him a bunch, but it just, again, feels so obvious that they would go this direction. Unless there's a receiver you really like. There are people who definitely like DeZunt Stribling. Really haven't taken. Oh, I know what we're going to do. We're not going to take him. We're not going to take him. We're going to do Zoom. We're going to do a little bit of a smart thing before we go completely rogue here. And yeah, I think, again, the one thing that, part of going rogue in scenarios like this is you can just kind of throw thresholds out, which is always very fun. Oh, Stribling's still here. All right, we'll do the Stribling thing here in the 5th round. It's fair enough. Makes sense. We can just do that. Not too worried about it. QB. Yeah. Yeah, this is the Taylon Green spot. We're finally going to get Taylon Green, a player who I think is there's a lot of work to be done. But I think, do I trust Green Bay to get kind of all of that done with a player like that? Yeah, absolutely I do. Okay. I do think they've added Uar Bernard, which I think is very, very fun to do. Again, I don't really know if I want to. We're chasing a lot of upfield burst with some of this, and I think that is fascinating. If we go another defensive line pick, we only have 2 picks left. I'm going to go Devin Marshall again. I continue to love the fit there with Green Bay. And then we're going to finish it out with one of my favorites here, an Eli Heidenreich, who I think is really, really fun. So there you go. You get D'Angelo Pons, you get Caleb Proctor, Trey Zune, Dejon Stribling, Taylon Green, Devin Marshall, and then Eli Heidenreich, who I think can do a lot of different stuff. So there you guys go. 4 mock drafts, 2 weeks to go to the draft. Hope you guys stick around for this. We got a lot more coming on this channel from a Packers perspective, including the epic mock. Part of Draft Professor will be live Friday and Saturday, making picks in real time based on, what the other draft professors and the other teams do. So that's really exciting. So tune in for that on Friday and Saturday. Thank you guys for watching. See you in the next one. Farewell.